Hi everyone, it's Brittany and welcome to One Hot Mess. Alright guys, so before today's episode begins, I just wanted to give a little bit of a trigger warning because in what we read today, there are some topics that may make some people uncomfortable, such as abortion, as well as some other things. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a trigger warning. And also remember, I am just reading out of the book. That does not make anything that's being said in this book my beliefs. Just reading a book. Enjoy. Today we're going to continue reading the self-discovery book. And we are on the section about the life cycle of the human experience, conception to infancy. The following is a rough overview of the life cycle of the average human in their growth periods, as well as some of what happens during these sections of life. This is not exact and will vary for each individual. It will give you a general idea of what to expect in your human life or what has already occurred for a greater understanding of the human experience. If you understand your human experience and how it works, it will make it easier for you to create your life rather than being subjected to it. Understanding your own programming is primary in these explanations. Most of us have been taught the external functional skills of life to a limited degree. These understandings relate to the internal dynamics of how a human being is put together, why we behave the way we do, why we feel the way we feel, and how to change it if we are unhappy. In the human world, there are a lot of misjudgments and misunderstandings about abortion, killing life in the womb, etc. We want to take a moment to explain a concept for you to ponder. As the soul spirit connects to the embryo, there is still an opportunity to choose not to incarnate into the human form. Parents must decide if they actually want to have this child. This is a free will choice, both on the side of the parents and the child itself. Let us be very clear. An abortion cannot take place unless all parties agree at some level. When parents decide they may not want a child, the child from the other side has the option to vote. If the child chooses to truly come through, the abortion will not take place. If the parents choose not to have the child and the child is in agreement that this choice is best for all parties, the child will consent to not coming in through this vehicle at the time, knowing that there are other opportunities. The being will wait until it is more conducive to the experience they want to have rather than choose to come through parents who are not prepared or will not provide them with the opportunities that they require in this human state. Parents have the right to choose whether they want to be parents or whether they made a mistake by getting pregnant. Moral views are strictly human and have nothing to do with the spirit. Spirit consents and agrees to all choices. Spirit is non-judgmental and accepts the choices of all, for this is a free will planet. Sometimes a parent chooses to abort a child thinking, I will not be able to experience in this lifetime what I have come to do. So it is the best opportunity for all if I do not have the child at this time. Many judgmental types will say that this is morally wrong, but at no time does any one individual truly understand the choices others make. Judging another for their choices is utter foolishness. This may go against what you believe or have been taught, but to be very, very clear, life is a free will choice on this planet, and free will means free. After the child is conceived, the child connects to the embryo in the womb. At that point, its sensate body begins to develop. As it does, the soul begins to make a connection to the sensate body and eventually to the physical body when it enters it sometime after the 3-month mark. The soul does not completely enter the body until after it's made its decision to stay, and that is when the soft spot in the baby's skull closes completely. As the child develops in the womb, the soul that has connected to the sensate body begins to receive all the information going on around the embryo. The embryo is, in some fashion, an extension of the soul's sensate understanding of the physical world. It is why they call the body a vehicle. Perhaps here we should set a concept for our future discussions. The world has 3 levels. Level 1 is your human experience and all that which is purely human. Level 2 is your soul, which is the recorder of all your experiences. Level 3 is your spirit or essence, which is in divine contact and connection to all that is. We'll discuss these levels more in a future section. Life cycle of the human experience, infancy to young adulthood. Keep in mind as you read that these are brief summaries of each life stage. There is far too much to cover in one course about the life cycle of the human being. These general overviews give you an idea of certain stages of development and how they affect each individual. After an infant's skull has closed at the soft spot, the child is now joined with their soul. This does not mean that the child is retaining their awareness in the physical form, because they can be emotionally and physically disconnected from their physical body. This usually only occurs if there are perceived traumatic experiences or the environment is too intense for their sensate experience. From this point, the child watches and feels their environment, experiences everything in it through their senses, and assimilates the information intuitively. They watch their parents in particular, then their siblings, then close relatives, and finally outsiders of the family unit. They take their patterned behaviors from the people they watch in that order. Children observe individuals, how they do what they do, and what type of results they get based upon their own incoming personality brought with them in physical experience. They combine the patterns and choose those that suit them most comfortably. They watch until they are about 4 or 5, mostly intuitively. At this point, the brain begins to develop and they start to cognitively develop patterns, behaviors, and responses to their world. By the time they are 5 or 6, they are more involved with peers, interacting with them, experimenting with the patterns they have been given, and developing new ones, or even imitating those around them. Around the age of 10, they start to develop pre-puberty signs. They display patterned behaviors relative to the average human experience. The parents do not recognize this because they probably have not physically developed to match. Some signs are unusual behaviors and moodiness. Young ladies will emotionally cycle to the same rhythm as their monthly menstrual cycle, although they may not have their menstrual cycle for another 2 to 4 years. Somewhat around 12, children move into puberty. They pick up some behaviors from their social experiences and they try to integrate them into their own lives. When they bring new behaviors home, they are either approved or disapproved of, and children must modify things that they were enjoying. Around this time, another aspect of their soul begins to integrate, coinciding with puberty. Their bodies are ready to assimilate more of the soul experience into their human form. As this new integration of the soul takes place, it may make them a little moody. Other aspects of your soul are integrated into your personality and human experience at several points throughout your life. They usually coincide with human development stages, so you can look them up and find out what those are. We'll only mention a few common ones here. At 16 to 18 years old, teens begin to experiment with their sexuality because hormones have been driving them. Their social environment has been programming them, and they are feeling something within that is related to becoming independent. Psychology recognizes this search for independence as a personality trait. This is true at level 1, the human level, but at level 2, they are doing it more for the soul experience, trying to integrate more aspects of themselves in order to be a creator, not just some sheep on the planet. There is a greater reason for this independence. Independence needs to be nurtured, but should still be given boundaries. Without them, this independence will run amok. Teens will act out based on their patternings and become quite complicated. As a parent, when you recognize the quest for independence, do not give your child free rein. You must give them some sort of balance. Let them know that it's a good thing, but there are certain guidelines they must use to assert independence. You must check to see if you are threatened by their changes. As this independence develops and teens move from their early and secondary schooling, they become ready for either the world or some kind of college environment. They will experiment again with what they have learned and the integration of their new soul spirit aspects. Their personalities may shift once again. They will have to choose between being who they are and being what others want them to be. Those who choose the latter choose to separate from their own divinity and become seekers of affection, attention, or acknowledgement. Those who have not chosen the path have chosen to find their own way, and sometimes this is more difficult because they don't have the social experience and or necessary wisdom to do it on their own. At the same time, they look like they are in control. There is always an internal struggle because what appears on the outside always has its internal counterpart. At this stage, they are now young adults. Life cycle of the human experience, young adult to departure. As a young adult, you have gathered some basic experience through puberty and social experiences. You now combine that experience with the belief systems and cognitive and precognitive patternings you have gained as a young child. It's time to set out in the world to practice these experiences, patterns, beliefs, and behaviors to form an identity. You think you know who you are up to this point, but that is 100% based on your early and family programming. The family unit, much like any other organization, creates its own specific, unique belief system. Now you take this belief system into the world and try to interact with others who have had different training in the same individuated programming. You find that some of it works and some of it does not. Often you get into some sort of relationship and experiment with all that you have saw and all that you have practiced up until now. At this point, you begin to believe this is who you are, and you are pretty much in an autopilot programming behavior system, meaning that you use all of your behaviors and programming from childhood without conscious thought, being only conscious of what you think you know. You practice this until approximately your 30s. Then, anytime from the age of 30 for early starters and 60 for late starters, you'll hit a midlife crisis. This is when you start to recognize that your pattern behaviors do not serve you appropriately. They have caused difficulties in relationships, in your career, in raising children, and you begin to question what's going on. For most, a search begins and a fork in the road appears. If you go one way, you will continue these behaviors without having to change or make much effort. You can read how life will go and blame those around you in your past for failures or successes. The other path makes you realize that something has to change, and it must be you. Everything that has happened in your life is not working, not successful enough, not creating the happiness you seek, and you need to make a change. You blame some people, but in other cases, you take responsibility yourself. You have done some logical, rational work and realize that to succeed and make the change, the only change that must take place is you. When a human has decided to take one path or another, they begin their change. One is toward growth and expansion, by the change of self, changing thoughts, beliefs, knowings, and attitudes that have created their identity so far. The other is settling into the old and trying to modify old patterns or thoughts, beliefs, knowings, and attitudes so that they can survive a little bit more comfortably. When an individual says, "This is just who I am, and that's the way life is," you know that they have resigned to victimhood and to being an unconscious person. There's nothing wrong with this. We are simply identifying the different paths a midlife crisis leads to. Some people act out, some people go within, and others resign to the way life is. The choice is up to each individual. This isn't to say 30 and 60 is a primary opportunity to make a change. As you move into the next phase of your life, you are usually running whatever patterns will run for the rest of your human lifetime. Individuals who make the more conscious choice are moving into greater wisdom and awareness of self, connecting more with their divine essence and their being, creating life, and finishing up and resolving old patterns and belief systems. This makes way for their next adventure, whether it's another lifetime or another experience somewhere else. Those who have taken the path of unconsciousness end up running out patterns and belief systems that they gained in their childhood and experience through the same filters that they have experienced life up until now. They finish their human existence by undertaking a life review of some sort when they approach the end. Neither of these paths is wrong. Neither of these paths is right. They are simply different choices for different experiences. As a human being, you may never know why an individual soul chose one path. One influencing factor is that their ego or personality did not have the strength, fortitude, or courage to make the changes necessary. The soul will wait until the next experience to carry this out. Why would a soul allow this to happen? The simple answer is because of love. The soul spirit loves its human aspect so dearly that it allows it to make whatever choices it must. This is a reflection of humanity on this planet. There is so much love for self, others, and choices that no matter how much you agree or disagree with them, you simply love others and choose to witness their experiences. Life is what you make it. It is up to you at all levels to make choices to become conscious or remain the same. This is free will. And as we said earlier, this is a free will planet. It allows the ego, personality, in conjunction with the soul spirit to make whatever choice it wishes to make. Your judgments anchor you in the reality you're judging. Unconditional acceptance allows you to be free and create your own experience. Become the creator that you truly are. Disconnected and your divine self. We referred to being disconnected in the process of becoming human in a previous section, where we spoke about the child's consciousness being disconnected from the body. This disconnect can remain throughout one's entire life. It can become a habit and or a coping mechanism to avoid all perceived unpleasant situations. The key here is perceived. Anything that you don't want to deal with could be something that you choose to check out of. Your conscious awareness detaches from your sensate body and all of your experiences in the physical world. This allows you to avoid any internal or external unpleasantries, giving you the illusion of being in a comfortable place. In this disconnect, your external world goes on complete autopilot and or your world begins to fall apart, meaning a lot of difficulties start to arise. You have more confrontations and you tend to be a little airy, maybe even seeming like you have attention deficit disorder. Labeling it ADD helps you excuse it, but we would say that ADD-like behavior is a result of being checked out of your sensate environment. As you develop as a human being, you will learn coping mechanisms to achieve more comfort in your life. These skills, however, then go on autopilot and you run unconsciously again. These skills allow you to manipulate and manage your world without effort or real experience. You have become unintegrated with self. You have sacrificed and abandoned yourself to an autopilot program in order to sustain a comfortable life. The questions here are: why is it uncomfortable to you? What things are uncomfortable in your life in particular? Look at them and ask yourself, why are they uncomfortable and where did they come from? How did I begin to perceive these things as difficult? What does it support in my belief system about the world? For example, if you find that it's difficult to talk to people because they just don't understand you, it may support a belief system that says you are unworthy or not good enough, or that you don't know how to communicate. You avoid the situation, which creates greater difficulties in communication and supports the belief that you do not know how to communicate or that you're unworthy of people listening to you. You create these circumstances on some level. Your patterning will run flawlessly to support the belief system that you hold to be true. If you believe you are not good enough, you will create situations and experiences that logically you know are not appropriate, so that you can see evidence of this in your reflection in others and in the behaviors. Please do your best to recognize what patterns you are supporting when you find things difficult to deal with. It will be challenging at first for you not to check out of your body, to leave yourself, to allow your patterns to run on their own. It takes great conscious effort for you to change these things. They are the beginning steps and are required as a foundation for change. Without your conscious awareness of these patterns and consciously changing them and avoiding behaviors that support them, it is impossible for you to change. You can manage with unconscious patterned coping mechanisms, such as positive thinking, but this will always take a great deal of effort. Wouldn't it be easier for you to do the work up front and never have to do it again? Think about how you would like to proceed, for the journey is yours and your own choices determine it. Contrary to popular belief, the outside does not influence the inner experience. The inner experience creates, sustains, and or changes the external influences. You are more of a creator than you can begin to imagine. Society does not tell you this because then you will not be able to be controlled. The last thing that modern society wants is a free, conscious individual. You will not be a very good consumer or taxpayer or easily manipulated by sex, drugs, alcohol, or money. Choose consciousness and freedom, or unconscious patterned behaviors that you know you have. It's kind of tough to go back once you are aware, isn't it? Just by reading these things, you will never be the same. This ignites fear in most ego personalities, but there is truly nothing to fear. For all that you will discover is who you really are. Sometimes our fear is discovering how great we are and what vast, divine, loving beings we truly are. Have courage, move forward. Dare to discover your true loving inner being. Change your experience so that you have more energy and focus to discover this. Anyone can do this. It's not difficult, but the ego identity struggles with letting go of what it knows, and that is the hardest part. You'll find that everything you feared was false, and there are so many beautiful things you get to experience by choosing the path of freedom. As always, please read this information openly and decide what you want to use and what you are ready for. In what ways are you disconnected from your world and your sensate feelings? How are you numb? How many wounds have you sustained that told you you can't trust others? Men will hurt you. Women will hurt you. You will be betrayed by someone you're close to. Being open and honest always leads to self-denial. There are so many beliefs that support being checked out. Dare to be present. Dare to be alive and feel your life in a way you never have before. In a future written piece, we will list common human beliefs. You may find yours or those you've modified, but be curious enough to find out what is true for you. Remember, there is no one way. There is only your way. There are, however, shortcuts and other methods that will assist you in finding your way. This course is meant to assist you in finding that way. You truly have all the answers. If you would only be in touch with your divine self, your soul, your spirit, whatever metaphor you prefer. What other vices do you have? Others can include alcohol, religion, sex, money, drugs, and drama. That's an unexpected one. Most people don't think drama is a vice, but it is, allowing you to avoid the truth in your life. Maybe you've taken on the identity of caretaker, a problem solver, a matchmaker, someone who is saving the world and helping other people. These are all just methods to avoid self. Some people would say, isn't it a good thing that I'm helping humanity? We would say, are you the lifeguard who doesn't know how to swim trying to save humanity? Learn to save yourself. By example, your presence will infuse the world with great understanding and the love you carry within. Self-care must be first and foremost in your life. Self-care is never at the expense of others, but it may displease people who want you to interact with them or serve them. Serve no one. Once you have accomplished this, you won't check out or disconnect again. Your presence will emanate the loving nature you have become, and others will feel it whether they are aware of it or not. Be true to yourself and your own journey first. Everything else will follow. Love yourself in a way that you have never conceived until now. Bodies of memory. The body is like a hard drive, including your brain. Your consciousness stores files. These files are programs, beliefs, attitudes, thoughts, sensational experiences. The reason that the mind cannot interpret these things is because it is not in touch with the body. And in order to get in touch with the body, the mind must get connected to the heart. And the heart must become the mind of the body. When the heart becomes the mind of the body, the mind can then interpret these experiences within the body and has a frame of reference to communicate and interact with the world around it. So now you must learn to direct your consciousness into the heart. For from the heart, you can search all the file systems in your body, and the body is your energy body, not just your physical body. These files are holding information that causes the conflict between what you know in your mind, in your heart, and the behaviors you are exhibiting, as well as the feelings you are experiencing and interpreting, in most cases, inaccurately. When you feel through the heart and the heart becomes the mind of your being, you can use your human mind to accurately interpret and understand what it is you're feeling and then make conscious decisions on what to do with these feelings and whether any action is appropriate. But the mind is required to make these decisions, and the heart is required to retrieve the files or the experiences within the body or bodies, which would again include all of your energy bodies and the energy field around you. And now for our next metaphor, what we are going to do is called the file feelings, and in common human terms, what we are referring to as programs or files are simply feelings that people have. In many cases, these are feelings they do not understand or even have the ability to interpret. This is why feeling is so very important. So the feeling, which is the heart of your being, located at the heart center of your human body, is the core of your being. It is where all of your information can be retrieved from. It is your connection to your spirit and your connection to your physical form and energy bodies. Once you establish the heart as your brain, you can access all the files from your spirit, the files from your soul, and the files from your human experience. Now take a moment and direct your energy and attention and consciousness into your heart. Now make the intent to discover those feelings or files that are causing the current difficulties in your life, things that you wish to change. Now connect to the essence of the information you have just received. And as you connect to that information, it will have a frequency, a feeling to it. Focus on that feeling, and from your heart, send a beam of violet light, followed by a beam of white light, followed by a beam of golden light. And see that vibrational frequency begin to change. Feel that vibrational frequency begin to change within your body. And remember, when we say your body, we mean all of your bodies, your energy bodies and your physical body. Now that the vibrational frequency has changed, see the world wisdom and the vibrational frequency of wisdom, for which we will use the gold frequency. As you feel this frequency change, you make this statement: I am the wisdom of this experience. I am the knowing of the wisdom of this experience. I am free from any and all limitations related to this experience. Remember that this experience we refer to is the frequency pattern established as a file or feeling record in your bodies. It does not necessarily have to be from this human lifetime. It could be from any experience that you have ever had. All right, y'all, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to hit that follow button and share one hot mess with a friend. And I'll talk to you guys next time.